So there are some skills that a director needs to develop. Let's talk about it. So I had to learn the hard way from experience what makes a good director, and it's been a long journey. My goal with this channel is to make that journey easier for other young self-taught filmmakers by sharing with you what I've already learned. So here are some tips about directing from a self-taught director. Number one, learn about storytelling. Like we discussed last week, every director is different in how they like to tell stories and what stories they like to tell. Similarly, every director, well, every person really, is different in how they learn about storytelling. There are dozens of methods out there on how to develop story, how to approach story structure, how to develop characters. It can all be very overwhelming when you first dive into the subject. But my advice to you is to just pick a book, pick a method to start learning, and if it's not making sense to you, then move on to the next one. Not everything is going to click with the way that you think, and that's fine. The first instructional book that I ever read about story is Live Writing by Ralph Fletcher, and this is a great little book that just introduces you to the elements of writing and story, and it's geared toward younger readers. Right now, the books that I enjoy learning story from are by James Scott Bell. He writes about novels, not screenplays, but the ideas still apply, and my absolute favorite of his books is Conflict and Suspense. I also learned a lot about story by watching movies and talking with my family about what I observed. I made a video earlier this year talking about how to study films, which talks a lot about this, so if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description below. I've also watched a lot of story, deconstruction, and analyzation videos on YouTube. Hearing what other people see when they watch movies has broadened my thinking to consider a lot of things that I just wouldn't have before. My favorite essay channel on YouTube is Just Right. I've watched almost all of his videos, at least all of the ones where he's talking about a film that I've seen. Additionally, I have several podcasts that I like to listen to that talk about writing and story. Two in particular. The first one is Writing Excuses, which is a group of professional published authors who get together and just talk about the elements of story. And these are super short podcasts. They're only 15 minutes long, which means I can listen to them while I'm eating breakfast or while I'm doing chores. And the great thing about them being so short is that the podcasters do a great job of breaking down story theory into bite-sized chunks. The other podcast that I like is called Movie Maintenance, and it's comprised of several Australians who take movies that they thought weren't that great and they redo the plot lines. They give their listeners a dramatic pitch of what they thought the movie should have been like. Content warning on this podcast though, there is a considerable amount of swearing and some other objectionable content, so it's definitely not for younger listeners. I put links to all of these resources in the description below if you guys want to go check those out. Tip number 2, educate your imagination. Also last week I mentioned how a director needs to develop vision for each project, but how do you learn how to have vision? Now, if you are drawn to being a director, then there's a good chance that you already have a lot of vision. If out of your siblings and your friends, you are the one who is coming up with the ideas, hey guys, we should make a movie about this, and wouldn't this be cool, and we could change this and do this, and wouldn't this be fun? You're already getting vision. You're getting pictures and ideas in your mind for projects that you would like to do and how to do them. That's vision. The problem that I came up against when it came to vision is that I tend to only have vision for big picture story. So it's like my imagination is lopsided because I don't have a lot of ideas, a lot of vision for details or for the visual look of things. And I think that everyone has something that they lean toward, something that's a strength for them, but part of being a good director is being able to have vision for the whole film, every aspect of it. So whatever you find that you don't have vision for, to become a good director, you just need to work on that area. Work on educating your imagination. I've been working on educating my imagination on design. You guys have seen this. I worked on a project as a costume designer and I vlogged about it. If you haven't seen those videos, you can go check them out here. I've been watching a lot of videos about design, about interior design, about marketing design, about fashion design, just trying to get into the mindset of design and learn what designers look at and how they work. I've also watched a lot of film video essays specifically about design, about the sets, about the costumes, about the colors of the film. Again, looking at the thought process behind the artistic side of filmmaking. I'm filling my mind with material to use next time I am trying to develop vision for a project. So if it feels like you're lacking imagination when it comes to storytelling or to cinematography, then take a season and really spend significant time researching that topic, researching the people who are professionals at what you feel stuck in. A lot of the times your imagination works out of your subconscious. So if you don't feel like you're fully grasping a subject or receiving a lot of inspiration from the research that you're doing, it's okay. You're still feeding your imagination. Tip number 3, become an effective communicator. Communication is 90% of the director's job, so it's definitely a skill that you need to cultivate. And if you don't feel like it's something you're very good at, then it's an area that you can work on. Good communication is always about the other person. Your concern should be, did I say that in a way that they understood what I meant? Most miscommunications come when people assume that they're understood and don't take the time to make sure that their message actually got across. So there's no room to get offended if someone didn't understand you the first time. Your priority should always be to have understanding between you and the other person. And if the first way you say something to someone doesn't make sense to them, then find another way to say it. Watch their face and wait till they don't look confused anymore. One of the reasons that communication is such a big thing in filmmaking is because for a majority of conversations, you are speaking in the realm of ideas and concepts, and those are difficult to communicate about because they're abstract and literally all in your head. There's a lot of room for confusion, so your job as the lead communicator is to make sure that everyone is on the same creative page and to clear up any misunderstandings that people have about your vision and what you want for the film. If you feel unable to communicate effectively about more abstract things like ideas and concepts, then you can listen to podcasts and videos of people talking about ideas and concepts to just get more of an idea of how to do that. Pay attention to how many times people say the same thing, only slightly differently. You can also just study about communication. You can watch videos of effective communicators. I love the TED Talks and other presentations like that. You can take classes on how to communicate better. Another tool is B-roll from Hollywood movies. Unlike the behind-the-scenes featurettes, which are all edited with interviews and tell the story of the film, B-roll is raw footage from set. So you can often watch how the director is communicating with the crew and with the actors. On YouTube, I really enjoy the behind the scenes that Film Riot puts out. Ryan Connolly, the creator of Film Riot, talks a lot about directing, about the challenges that he encounters with each film and how he overcomes them, often talking about communication. Tip number 4, start delegating. A mistake I see all the time from beginning directors is that they try to do everything. They're directing every little piece of the costume and the camera work, and they're directing the actors, and they're handling all of the organization, and what you end up with is a director whose mind is split in so many different directions they can't actually focus on what they're supposed to be focusing on, which is making decisions about the film while holding the big picture vision in their head, so that you end up with a cohesive film at the end of a chaotic shoot. Delegating means letting go of all of the little details to somebody else's control. As the director, you're still overseeing almost everything and you're making all of the big decisions. But once you give someone a job, don't micromanage them. Let them have some creative freedom within your vision. You don't want your crew to just be an extension of your hands. The more minds you have working on the project, the better it will be. The more you are able to let go, the more you will be able to focus on the finished film and holding the whole project together. Find other people who are really good at the other stuff so that you can delegate it to them and not have to worry about it. Even if you're interested in learning other roles roles in filmmaking, producing, being a director of photography, or an actor, it's really, really hard to learn that many things at once. It's much easier to eat your pie one slice at a time. So if you're wanting to focus in on directing, start delegating off a lot of the other jobs. So that's my advice to any directors in training out there. It's what I've learned over the past couple years of directing. Learn about storytelling, educate your imagination, become an effective communicator, and start delegating. That's all that I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please comment, like, subscribe. It really helps get the channel out there. I'm Annie Pulling Sweat, and I'm a homegrown filmmaker. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.